Mass Effect Andromeda is not a horrible game, but it's a game that in my opinion is a disappointment. It's a game that had some really good things going, like the combat and I believe parts of the main story, but everything else was just kind of alright or bad. The facial animations is what this game more than likely will be remembered for, and overall Mass Effect Andromeda just was okay, and needed and could have and should have been much more. Anyway, besides the actual game, Andromeda had a ton of issues pre-launch. There was one ex-developer getting called out for his numerous racist comments, there was senior staff jumping ship, there was developers who weren't even working on the game getting attacked for how the animations looked, and then there was also the delay. Jason Schreier of Kotaku last year wrote a piece titled "The Story Behind Mass Effect Andromeda's Troubled 5-Year Development," and he did a great job outlining a lot more of the issues that BioWare Montreal ran into that we didn't know of. Just from the opening of this report, you can see how much of a mess this game was behind the scenes. Jason Schreier spoke to about a dozen people who worked on the game that said the development of Andromeda was turbulent and troubled, marred by a director change, multiple major rescopes, an understaffed animation team, technological challenges, communication issues, office politics, a compressed timeline, and brutal crunch. Many games share some of these problems, but to those who worked on it, Andromeda felt unusually difficult. This was the game with ambitious goals but limited resources, and in some ways, it's miraculous that BioWare shipped it at all. Now, I also want to include the quote coming from an Andromeda developer who said, "For the last few months of the game, we spent most of our effort just trying to keep it together rather than polishing, just trying to stay ahead of how quickly it was falling apart." So this article really is a must-read, but the point I wanted to make is Andromeda was a mess, and the overall opinion on this game is that it's meh at best. The Metacritic scores of right around 70 are pretty accurate for what this game is, so this leads to E3 2018 where some of BioWare's leadership were talking Anthem, and the subject of Andromeda came up. First, I want to include this clip coming from Game Informer, who was throwing 123 questions at Anthem's executive producer Mark Dara, who stated the real reason Andromeda failed was because of historic competition.
You think Mass Effect Andromeda got a fair shake?
No.
Why not?
I think it came out in a really busy window of RPGs, perhaps the busiest window in the history of the games industry, where 5 RPGs launched in the same month.
Can you shorten that up at all?
How about it came out the same month as Zelda?
See, this is called not accepting failure and playing the blame game. Mass Effect Andromeda got a fair shot, it's just the game was a mess, and there were better options. You really want to know what I consider historic competition is the fact that 4 major games are all fucking releasing on February 22nd, 2018. Metro Exodus, Days Gone, Crackdown 3, and Anthem. If BioWare and EA truly think Andromeda failed because of Zelda, why release against 3 major games on the same fucking day? It makes no sense. Additionally, Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming in late January and The Division 2 is coming in mid-March, so that's much more competition in my opinion. Also, as far as I understand, last year in March, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild released March 3rd for 2 consoles that Andromeda was not releasing on. Also, the other big releases that came were Nier Automata on March 7th, which is a great game, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands also on March 7th, that was a big seller, Styx Shards of Darkness on March 14th, and then Mass Effect Andromeda finally on March 21st. This is not historic competition, and honestly, let's not act like the Mass Effect brand is not popular, because it is. And if this game was actually good, it would have sold much more. Look at Horizon Zero Dawn as a big example of that, which came at the tail end of February 2017. Ultimately, there were just better options to a game, hit with numerous bugs, and overall was just alright at best. Let's also not act like this game bombed, because it did not. Reportedly, it sold somewhere around 4 to 5 million copies. It was considered by EA a financial success when they were talking to investors. Of course, they probably had higher expectations, but what do you expect to happen when you release something that is mediocre? And there are better options. Word of mouth on this game was mostly negative after release, and that certainly hurt. But Mass Effect producer Mike Gamble also chimed in on this topic at E3 when Eurogamer asked him, "Do you think Andromeda got a fair shot when it launched?" and he responded with an answer different than Mark Dara, saying, "Personally, I think Andromeda has a lot of great stuff in it. Sometimes you need to scrape to get to it, but when you get there, you feel the magic. We launched in a highly competitive quarter, there were some great contemporaries out at the same time, and hindsight is always 20/20. I'm proud of the team behind Andromeda and how hard they worked, and I feel strongly there's enough of an audience out there who appreciates it and loves it that I feel encouraged by this still. Could it have been received better? Absolutely. Are there things we learned from it? Focus, polish, visual fidelity? Absolutely. We have to, or we never get better and make the same mistakes." This answer sounds much better, but ultimately, having to scrape for the good parts of a game is not what many people want or wanted to do. Anyway, the last thing I'll add is that Mass Effect Andromeda could have and would have been huge if it was a better game, but it wasn't, and consumers recognized that and decided to invest their time and money into better products. Andromeda did get a fair shot, it's just that there were too many issues and negative press around this game. Anyway, what is your opinion on these BioWare comments? Do you think Andromeda got a fair shot or not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and consider subscribing for much more content like this, and I'll see you later.